welcome, Kendall. How are you?
Hi, I am very happy to be here, of course.
Yes, yes. Kendall's a longtime client of ours, and she is a team leader in Tampa. She's an Inman speaker. She is a licensed attorney, and most recently, the VP of
Industry relations.
Industry relations. I was like, I knew it. I was at the top of my head because I watched you in a webinar yesterday as well on Riz Media, which is really awesome. For EXP Realty. So you are boots on the ground with realtors every single day in
Yeah.
light of all this stuff going on.
Yes, yes. It's been a lot of work, but it's also been amazing and awesome. I've been, as a part of my role at EXP, I've been touring around the country, both in person and via EXP World, presenting on the latest and the greatest with the settlement updates as a result of the NAR settlement, and preparing agents for some of the mindset shifts that we're going to have moving into and beyond this deadline that is coming and approaching very quickly. So that's a lot.
We've been keeping up with your social media 30-day countdown, which has been really, really cool and informative. And honestly, I feel like it's keeping some realtors on their toes with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I realized I like woke up one day and I was like, I wonder how many days we have left to the settlement. I was like, I wonder when it's 30 days. And so I just happened to do it the week before. So that Monday was like, oh my gosh, that's 30 business days. And when I say business days, I know realtors work 24/7, right? Friday. I'm a lawyer, so business days to lawyers is Monday through Friday. And that we were, sorry, I just want to make sure I'm on Do Not Disturb. We were 30 business days out from the settlement. And I just felt like it was important to bring that to people's attention because, the time just flies by like that. And so when I thought what would be fun is I could do a 60-second video with little quick tips or ideas or thoughts or updates, whatever was relevant, every single day, every single business day as we do the countdown. So someone asked me, they're like, oh, are you batching your content every day? You do so good. You have different hair, different outfits. Like, no, every day I record a video in the moment, like where I'm at. Like right now I'm at a hotel in California. Tomorrow I'll be in Arizona and Scottsdale for another event. So I'll find time in my schedule to quickly record. I'll think of something, what was relevant today, and record something for y'all. So please follow and hopefully it's helpful to you.
Yes, yes, yes. We'll put all of the follow links and everybody follow Kendall on Instagram and Facebook and all of the places because she's really great to follow along with as far as like the NAR stuff and beyond. Of course, her hair and outfit is always on point too, so that's good. That's good to follow along with too. Awesome.
Someone complimented my earrings. I was like, oh, I love that you noticed that. My earrings are different.
That's amazing. Well, that's how they know it's like a different day, right? That's how they know you're doing this every single day. Which is crazy, right? Because in our busy lives, this whole NAR settlement thing seemed so far away and almost like abstract at one point.
Yes.
And we're like, wait, now it's here, right? So what are some of these questions, concerns that you're getting from realtors on this day-to-day basis since you're working with them every single day?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a ton of questions. And I mean, we don't have enough time to go through all of them, but I'll highlight a few that I think have been pretty common. So like, for example, some people had questions on open houses. Do I need a buyer agreement for every unrepresented buyer that walks through an open house? So NAR has since clarified on that that is not the case. And as long as you don't represent that buyer, then you don't need an agreement just for them to come into the open house. But of course, a lot of real estate professionals leverage open houses to bring business as a marketing, right, tool to bring in business. So the goal here would be to, because with this deadline looming, it's going to be a change, not just for realtors, but for consumers. So, it's going to be on us to educate them on these changes. So this is an opportunity for you at an open house to say, hey, are you aware that there's been some major updates to the real estate sales process? Please see the agent on duty so I can update you, right? And
Yeah.
so that's a great opportunity for buyers to meet an agent and get updated on these new changes. And there's a new agreement that has to be signed, and that's required before, working with an agent. And that's one way that we can leverage these changes, right? So I mean, it's just a lot of practical, tactical questions, right, for a lot of agents, because you can have the rules, but you've got to bring context into that. So then it becomes applicable and it's like, oh, this is a scenario. So a lot of my training that I'm doing has been around those practical, tactical tips so that agents actually know what to do and what to say. And I think that's really important right now.
Yeah. And education point with your clients is always a connection point as well.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that is where that value comes in that you're providing, right, to that client.
Definitely one of the things that is super important when discussing value, for sure.
Yeah. So I think some buzzwords get thrown around, right? And agents are just like the headlines and show your value, articulate value like a listing agent. What does this really mean? And what are some of those differences?
Yeah, so great. I wrote an article, which I wrote out of frustration because a lot of leaders were saying things like that. And they're not wrong, but I think it's not as simple as that. It's so much more complicated for an agent because it's not the same working with a buyer as it is working with a seller, right? I mean, the problems are different, the process is different, the questions are different, how you articulate value is different. As a listing agent, you're focused on, for example, marketing and things like that. Well, that's not the value to a buyer is marketing, right? It's more service related. It's more, hey, I'm going to help you through education and through services and relationships and all these other things that we have to think about that are different for a buyer than a seller. And so my goal in even writing the article was to help agents who have never done a consultation before with a buyer, for example, or there's some agents out there who've worked primarily with buyers and have not done very many listings. Like, hey, this is where you can begin. This is what you can do. This is how you can start this conversation. So that for me is part of that conversation, right? Is like, how do we help agents understand what it means to articulate value and what is value? What does that look like, right? At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it's really just about getting the client to their end goal, right? I think there's just like a lot of fear and mystery around all of this, especially maybe even more so for buyers agents who've been doing this for years and years.
Yeah, for
Um, so let's talk a little bit about mindset. I think there's, some pillars that you are training agents on, training your team on. Why is it imperative to get, kind of your mindset off of this kind of fear mentality when just creating a value prop?
Yeah, I think it's one of the things I tell agents, and I've been telling agents in my talk is, I say, listen, this is where do you focus going forward? And one of the things I say is focus on on the facts, not on your fear, right? And the reason why I say that is because from a mindset perspective, fear often is a result of a lack of knowledge or a lack of experience, right? That's where fear typically comes from. And, the challenge is that all of us are going to be experiencing this together at the same time, right? This is going to be a new change across the industry. So as far as your peers in your local marketplaces, we're all experiencing this together. But one thing you can do is become more knowledgeable, and that knowledge will help you mitigate your fears that you have because you'll feel more prepared, right? The more information you gather. So I think attending webinars like this, reading articles, watching YouTube videos where people that you trust are specifically talking and giving insights into our best predictions, really, of what is likely to happen, because none of us really know what's going to happen at the end of the day. All we can do is make inferences and assess with what we know, like what's likely to happen, right? What's that likely going to look like? And so as you prepare, having more knowledge will help you mitigate that fear. But it does all start with the mindset, right? And I think, I'm calling it too, there's the great temptation, because there's a temptation by every realtor out there and broker to do everything they can to try to keep the process as close to the same as it was before going forward. And I think that's a mistake. The DOJ has made it very clear on, what they would like to see happen. The plaintiffs have made it very clear what they would like to see happen and what they'd like to see changed going forward. And I think the sooner we all just make the shift, the less drama and trauma we'll all experience, because there is going to be, someone I know, Holly, she's our SVP of broker ops at our company. She's like, we're going to stub our toe, and when she says that, she's not talking about our company so much as she's just talking about the industry, right? In general, it's like, we're going to stub some toes. This is going to be a shift. And there's going to, and companies are going to have to pivot to some degree and make, their best guess about what is in the best interest of their agents, as they make these shifts. But we all are going to have to make some shifts in our thinking as well as in our actions, and for example, one of the things I'm reminding agents is, your goal or your job is to advise the customer so that their decisions drive your actions as a realtor, right? Like a lot of realtors, for whatever reason, sometimes will try to make decisions for their clients. I don't know why they do that, but some do. It's just their mother bear, or father bear personality, because they think they know what's best for the client. But really, it's got to refocus back on letting the customer, i.e. your buyers in this particular case and your sellers, make the decisions to drive your actions as a real estate professional. So those are some of my best tips, or some of them, especially around mindset, that I think agents in this transition need to be making.
Yeah. Keep your client in mind, number one, right? And that will kind of lead your way.
Yeah. Let them drive the actions.
Yeah. The next pillar that you're kind of imprinting on your agents is increasing your tools and your skill set. So how have you used some of the tools? I know you have like a whole like tech resource library, including your Homestack app, of course.
I do.
But how have you used some of these tools, and what is kind of in your tool belt that has really changed the game and helped you to provide some value?
That's a great question. I think that, so one thing I like to say to agents, and one of the things that I discussed in my article was, this concept of like value, right? And how we deliver value to a customer. And, a lot of people are relying, or a lot of great companies have provided lists, right? Like, so NAR provided a list, realtor.com provided a list of all these things that realtors do. And so I said, well, when thinking, lists are great, but they're not differentiating at all. But where you can differentiate in terms of delivering value is in the customer experience that you provide. And one of the ways you can improve on or redefine that customer experience is through technology, right? And leveraging technology to, again, improve that customer experience in their journey, as well as make you more efficient, right? Which can also be a value add to that customer. So when I think about the technology I leverage to improve the client experience, because I'm overwhelmed with tech. Like, I love tech. I have a laundry list of tech tools. If like you tell me your problem, I probably know of a tool that you can apply to your business, right? I'm kind of known for that. But when working with customers, some of the tools that are differentiators are, presentation tools, getting technology tools that get your customers off of the big portals like Homestack, right? Is a tech tool that's an app on your phone that's customized and branded to me and my team, that allows a customer to get off of the site that's going to try to potentially own that contact and maybe perhaps even redirect them to another agent, I want to get them off of those and get them in my ecosystem, right? And in my ecosystem, the communication between them and I becomes crystal clear, it's easier, it's convenient. And those are things that customers will pay for. Customers will pay more for convenience. Customers will pay more for perceived value. Customers will pay more for specialty, right? Like those are the things that people value. And I can get into some examples if you want to on that, but that is some of the ways that like I will leverage technology to build on and improve that experience. So
yeah, yeah. So we have some interesting stats too from another Inman article that we were mentioned in recently. And these are pretty awesome, talking about mobile technology in real estate and just how much people have gone from the computer to the phone. This was from a Forbes study done in May, just this past May. 1/3 of people use only their mobile phone to access the internet. 24% of people say they primarily use social media to search online. 92% of internet users access it via their mobile phone. We know this, right? You don't even see people's faces anymore. Like there's just a phone in front of it. And then 76% of home buyers use a mobile or tablet search device in their home search. And this kind of goes back to what you were saying about how some agents don't want to change, right? They don't want to welcome these changes, but they're here. The NAR settlement is here. Mobile technology is here, right? People live and die on their phones. So I just really thought these stats were cool. I just got these like recently, and I was like, whoa, this is mind blowing. You were very early to the mobile technology trend, building your Tampa home search app with us. Why has this mobile app been a game changer for you guys? And how has it helped you to provide value to your clients and your users?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, number one, like I said earlier, it streamlines communication, right? Via chat between our agents and the consumer, the customer, right? So communication's key, and being able to directly communicate in a safe and a protected space, private space is so valuable. Number one. Number two, it allows us to proactively communicate with our customers through push notifications. We can also do new property alerts all through the mobile device, right? Because sometimes people will ignore text, they'll ignore emails, but everyone hates seeing that like red dot on their app what says unread notifications, right? And like some people just want to clear it. And so they're going to, as a result of that, like click on it and want to engage with it. And then, of course, we're able to provide resources on that app, right? To make it easier for those customers to get access to the information that they want. Because again, that's another part of the value proposition is, what resources and relationships are you bringing to the table to make that transaction smoother for the customer? And so, we've got buyer and seller guides on there. You can access vendors. You also can connect with our lender and get their information in the app. And so all of that is like, makes it streamlined and simple for the customer in one location where they can have access. So those are some of the things that I think customers really love. And then of course too, they have direct access to the MLS, right? Which is what they want. They want to be able to see the homes that they want. And of course it's, working with Homestock, it's white labeled. So what that means for those of you that don't know is basically it's branded to me, right? So they don't see Homestock's brand, they see Kendall Bonner team brand on the website and on the app. And that is, of course, priceless.
Yeah. I'll pull up your app really quick too, and I can show everybody kind of how you have your resources set up and how your app is set up because it looks really si So, and I think transparency is kind of a big part of working with buyers in light of this NAR settlement. So if you're giving them the MLS on their phone, you're like, you're seeing what I'm seeing, right? These are the houses that are out there. Nobody's hiding anything from you. Look around right in my app. And what Kendall was talking about as far as her resources in the bottom right-hand corner, this is her lovely little app. There's her KB icon right on my phone, keeping her top of mind. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, when you click on resources, here is her lender, her buyer and seller guides. This is her smart talk top tech tools. I can't talk today. Say that 5 times fast. And so this is where you can kind of dig a little bit deeper into Kendall. And yes, everybody has a website. That's totally cool. But looking at those stats, people are not on their desktops anymore. Everybody is on their phones. So when you pop, for example, to the buyer and seller guides, Kendall has a complete buyer guide in here, a complete seller guide. And I'm going right from her personalized app onto her guides that she has in here to kind of further help the clients. I think, some agents might even be printing stuff for people still, right? And they're like, that's just going to go right in my recycling bin. Like, I hate to say it, but, thank you, but, no, thank you. So giving people digitized things right here, it's just such an easier and smoother process. And again, providing more value to them.
Absolutely. And I think it helps with retention of customers as well. Because people, they're always looking for what is going to solve the problem that I have today, right now. So if you can proactively know, like, hey, I already know what your questions are going to be. I already know what your challenges are going to be. And I've actually already built and provided resources to you to solve those problems, right? Like that is huge. And that will help. That's sticky. Like people will continue to want to work with you. And so definitely there's some retention value with customers by having apps like this, or a Homestack app, so that you can, keep them attached to you. And it provides a very similar experience, like of what some people are used to with some of the other portal apps, right? So, which I think is really great. So they don't feel like they're losing anything. They feel like, oh, I'm gaining, because not only, am I doing something that I'm taking myself out of these search portals where now I'm going to be bombarded with vendors. I'm like here in a world where it's private. I can speak directly to my realtor, and I can get my questions answered there, and I can access the resources that, are hyper local and, what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah. And it's integrated with your Follow Up Boss CRM.
Yep.
So full circle, keeping everything in your ecosystem. It's a beautiful thing.
It definitely is. Very happy about that.
Yeah. So we're gonna open it up to some questions. We only have a few more minutes on here. So put some questions for Kendall in the Q&A, or if you have any questions for us at Homestack about your app, we would love to answer those as well. So I am kind of popping in here. Let's see if anything cool has come through here. Something about learn.
If I'm related to someone.
Yeah, I was kind of who is Dewana Bonner, Connecticut Sun player, basketball player, right? I think the Suns are basketball.
Bonner's my married name.
Oh,
I'm not aware of a Dewana Bonner.
You might be. I mean, it would be cool if you were, maybe.
I know that at first glance, you think Bonner's not that popular of a last name. Like, the first time when I met my husband, that was the first time I heard that name. But since then, it's a lot. And yeah, no, I don't think so.
Awesome. So if anyone has questions about the NAR settlement situation or how to provide value, you guys can pop that into the Q&A. We've also linked Kendall's article in the chat. So that's like really, really good basis and just a really good baseline to kind of figure out some new ways to kind of position yourself with your buyers. We will provide this recording. And if you want to follow Kendall, it is on Instagram. What are you on Instagram, Kendall?
Yeah, I think this is my name, Kendall E. Bonner. E is for my middle initial. So Kendall E. Bonner, Kendall.
Awesome. So somebody said, what about custom push notifications to open houses?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to leverage this as well, because especially if you're hosting open houses and you want to bring your buyers into some of the properties that you have offered, like definitely using push notifications for that is, I think, is super powerful. Also, if you know of new listings coming out, like just highlighting it even further with a push, I think is great. The other thing is, if you know events locally, because a lot of times people on these apps are local, right? I know for us, a lot of our client base are people relocating to Tampa. So one of the things we'll also do is just, can use this to communicate to them, like what's happening in Tampa, like what are some activities, like you can use the push notifications for so many things that create value in the eyes of the recipient, right? Like, hey, what's going on? It's 4th of July. There's a party at the wharf, like letting people know like what's happening, I think is really great. Certain concerts. I mean, you don't have to just be 100% real estate all the time. In fact, most people discourage that, right? It should be some percentage of your communications with their customer have nothing to do with real estate, right? And you're just providing, information, i.e. value, that the consumer, the recipient, is like, oh, I'm glad to now know that. I didn't know that before.
Yeah, yeah. And personality, right? Like shine through a little bit. Your authenticity can shine through a little.
Yes.
So Chris Pendergast is in Hawaii. He said, my challenge with agent conversation is getting them out of the 5 and 6% mindset and focusing only on the individual crest, 2.5 or 3%.
Okay. So first, no numbers. We're going to say X and Y. Okay. The lawyer and me, we're all from different brokerages. We're not colluding on what the commission rate should be for agents to consumer. So so how do I help agents with that conversation? So one, I am telling agents, listen, get out of the mindset that it is your job as a listing agent to anchor a seller to a commission for both sides of the transaction. Your job now as a listing agent is to focus on your commission that you charge and the services you provide at the listing conversation or presentation or appointment, however you describe that. That is now the shift that listing agents need to make. And now instead, when talking to sellers about buyer agent commission, we do need to change our language, and we do need to refocus the consumer on the concept or the idea, because the DOJ has been almost, I will say, shouting, right? That they want to see the practice of sellers making unilateral offers of compensation to the buyer agent before ever even getting an offer. They want to see that go away, right? So they want us negotiating at the time of the offer. So I would say to listing agents, when a buyer agent calls you and says, is the seller offering commission? Hopefully you've had a conversation with the seller about why that might be a good idea. And I can talk about that too if you guys have time and want me to. But I would say, of course, with my seller's permission, absolutely send me an offer, write it up, just make your offer and send us your best terms. And so with that, now a seller can negotiate what makes sense, because the reality is that every buyer is going to do something different. Some buyers are not going to even ask the seller to pay anything for their agent commission because they can afford it. And they rather have different contingencies or an advantage, a competitive advantage when making offers. Number one. Some buyers are going to instruct their agents to ask for or negotiate varying amounts. So some buyers' offers are going to come asking for X, some are going to come asking for Y, some are going to come asking for Z, and they all might have varying terms and other terms and conditions and contingencies. So now as a seller is evaluating these offers, they're evaluating the full picture, right? And so there's different ways that agents now can leverage this opportunity to build that competitive advantage. But we've got to get out of the mindset of anchoring a seller. If you're a fiduciary for that seller, it is your job to help them make or achieve their goals, which is often one of them being making as much money as possible. So why would you anchor them to pay more or offer more than they need to? Why not wait till the offers come in and then we can discuss it together and make the best possible decision for that seller? But I do believe we do need to be talking to sellers about buyer agent commissions, but really they should now be paid from the seller and or the buyer as a part of a credit from the seller to the buyer. So there's going to be some shifts in mindset and in the way we do things, but I don't think it has to be bad. We just have to, make the shift and make the change.
Yeah. Sounds like negotiation skills are
Yeah.
to become a big part of the picture here. Dip into a little bit about what agents should be brushing up on with all this.
Yeah, so I truly and genuinely feel the number one skill set that an agent should be literally spending time, money, and energy on right now is their negotiation skills. I find that agents typically, when it comes to that particular skill set, take it for granted and don't really invest the time, money, and energy that they should into that skill set. But I'm going to tell you, having that skill set at a really high level is going to read the difference between you like surviving versus thriving, right? Like I think agents who really hone in on their negotiation skills are going to thrive in this new world. And part of it is because you're going to be negotiating in your conversation with the buyer just to get them to meet with you, right? That's going to be a negotiation. Then in your meeting with them, negotiating to get them to sign this agreement to hire you. Then you're going to be negotiating with the seller and the listing agent on all the terms the buyer is trying to achieve, as well as perhaps your commission, and so on and so forth. And then not to mention just all the pieces of the contract. And negotiation is not a simple matter of tell me what you want and I'll tell you the seller's response. Like that's not negotiating. You're just moving paper. That's not a skill set, right? Which is why I think a lot of agents have not really focused on that skill because it didn't impact them personally. Now it's going to impact you. It's going to hit you in your pocketbook. So go invest. So where can you get information about negotiation skills? Number one, there's a designation. That's one place you can start. There's also books. Chris Voss wrote the book, Never Split the Difference. That's a powerful tool. Chris Voss also has a YouTube channel where he also spends time talking specifically to realtors about his negotiation tactics and how to leverage them in real estate. You have books like Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents by Phil Jones, Chris Smith, and I believe the last guy is like Peter Macklin. I think Macklin's the last name, I'm not sure. But if you find Phil Jones, Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents, that will get you there. They have an Audible as well as a book or a paper. I recommend you get both. There's Spin Selling by Neil Rackham. That's another like how to do high ticket sales tool book. Like you've got to really hone in on these tactical, practical skill sets so that you can navigate these changes successfully. That's my big picture opinion.
No, I love all those resources. I feel like, maybe 21, 22, and then trickling into 2023, things were just moving, right? Things were just happening so quickly. And now it's like everybody has to do a reset. And this is a great time to sharpen those skill sets.
Yeah, and that also lends to your value proposition that you get to offer to a customer saying, hey, listen, I have the designation, I have studied, I have certificates, I have honed this skill, I can help you, right? And I will use my skill set to your advantage, customer. Like when you can not only do that, but also be able to display that and show that, right? Number one, maybe through paper, right? Like here's my certificate and or like through demonstration in your own ability to negotiate for yourself, right? That is a very powerful experience for that customer because now they're experiencing your skill set, not just hearing you talk about it. And that I think is another, level up that you can do.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, like some of those books have been around. They're tried and trues, right? This is all like should be part of your repertoire.
1,000% tools
Yeah,
and for sure.
yeah, yeah. Well, Kendall, thank you so much. We could talk to you forever and ever and ever. As always, thank you so much for being here with us today. We will link some of those books, all of Kendall's social media. Again, is still time in this countdown that she is doing, so make sure that you tune into her social. We will link it here before we sign off, and read her Inman article. And as always, happy apping, everybody, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Homestack. You guys are awesome. Love, love, love you guys. And definitely always glad to provide value to your audience and to my audience between the two of us with the collaborations, because I do think that technology is so important in the home search experience. And I love seeing how you guys continue to level up your product to make it even more and more valuable. So I'm thankful for that. And I thank you for inviting me to be a guest today. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kendall. Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Bye.